Welcome to the Teddy Keaton Show here on HBCU Gameday. I am Sly the Sports Guy, and I am joined by the one and only Coach Teddy Keaton.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, Coach. How you doing?
I'm wonderful, man.
Man, Coach, it is football season.
Can you smell it?
Football. Oh, I smell it in the air, Coach.
Last night I got to watch a game. It felt good to just sit there and watch somebody play football. It's been too long.
It has been too long. But now we are ready, Coach. One more, wait a minute. 6 days?
6 days.
6 days until the Week 0 Labor Day Classic. The Week 0 Labor Day Classic, Clark Atlanta, the Clark Atlanta University Panthers will be taking on Valdosta State. They'll be taking on Valdosta State at historic Legion Field. Historic Legion Field. It'll be a part of a double header, as we don't even care about the other teams, but we'll say West Alabama is taking on Fort Valley, but we're not even concerned about that.
Correct.
We're concerned about Clark Atlanta. Now, Coach, summer practice, summer weightlifting, conditioning out of the way. You entered fall camp. Now you're in fall camp, getting ready for the season. What stuck out for you in fall camp, Coach? We're going to talk about a couple of players. You had to replace some guys. You had to replace some players. You had a couple of guys coming back. You had people who left and came back at the same time, Coach. So what do you have coming into camp? Let's talk about some of your replacements you got.
Well, I think the first thing when we went in, we knew we would have to live without the shadow of David Wright being there anymore. So that was the biggest question mark that we all had. And we know you at that fourth year or that fifth year of all those players that you've been pretty much rolling with for a while. Now they're gone now. So there's a lot of spots. There's got to be, either the backups from last year or a new guy was going to emerge. So we had our hopes, and we did well in recruiting, but we wanted to make sure that we had enough of players that would come in and be able to create value for themselves as individuals so they could help the team as a collectively. So I think we take it all the way back to the summer. I think a lot of kids invested in themselves, did a lot of hard work, hit the weight room, came back into camp on Shea, which gave us the proper, they put themselves in position for us to properly evaluate them. And I think they did a tremendous job. I mean, I'm very pleased coming out of camp. And there's still a few question marks in some areas that, where they at and how well they, transition to playing in a game playing against each other. Those question marks are still there, but, only thing you can do is play the game.
I got you. Well, let's talk about some of those question marks and some of those guys transitioning into starting roles for your team. Major thoughts around the world was who was going to replace David Wright at quarterback. Do you have your replacement for David at quarterback?
Zach McDonald is the starting quarterback coming this Saturday.
Zach McDonald transferred from Jackson State, coming in. Young man had a filled-in excellent job of filling in during the Heritage Bowl. Sorry, I'm old, Coach. My bad. Not Heritage Bowl, Celebration Bowl. I'm old, Coach. I remember the old name. But did an excellent job filling in. Now you're giving him the keys. What do you see in McDonald that you think that he'll be the guy who can lead this program?
I like his leadership, his thought process. He's a student of the game. He's a bookworm. When I say he watch a lot of tape, he spends a lot of time, he self-critiques himself. We thought that, because most of the tape we saw on him that it showed that he was a runner, but he showed us that he can throw the ball, and I think he's working hard to prove to people he can throw the ball. I like his decision-making ability, and I like how he's grasped the team and he's became the true leader of this team. So that was our goal coming out of camp, because David Wright's been the leader for 4 or 5 years of most of the teams he's been a part of. Now this guy got to come in with a bunch of new people, not on the D1 level, he's at the D2 level, and he got to fixate his mind to be able to wrap around that I got a chance to be the true starter. And it was no easy competition now. I think my backup, Xavier Jackson, did a really, really good job of competing with him, putting that pressure on him. I mean, they still go neck and neck, but I like how that room is really together and how they working together with each other to help each other get better. So I'm excited about that opportunity, that now that we've established that Zai will be our quarterback.
All right, now Zai's going to have to throw to somebody. It was a little bit of worry in the offseason. You had Harris. He said, okay, I'm going to John C. Smith. I'm going to go up and see what those CIAA waters look like. And then he realized, hey, nothing better than Atlanta, nothing better than that SIAC. So he came back. So now you have him back as one of the top receivers in the nation coming back to you. What does the wide receiver room look like for you, Coach?
I mean, it's probably the best wide receiver room I've had in a long time. You got 5 super seniors up there. You got Darren Stevens. You got Martin. You got Amon. You have it's one more. I can't think of all of their names, but it's 5 of them. And then you got the newcomer, the freshman, Krishan Sellers out of Langston Hughes, who's just added tremendous value. And it's a plethora of freshmen that easily could step into those roles as they grow with the program and started learning the offense. But it's looked like it's been no fall off of the offense. That's what's scary a little bit. It's been a little bit more productive. Not saying that David wasn't productive, but there's a lot of things that's cleaned up a little bit. And I'm very impressed with my O-line. I think that's probably the most improved area. If I had to give a thumbs up somewhere, they do a good job of protecting them, and we've been able to run the ball a lot smoother in spring camp than we ever had before.
And now I'm glad you brought that up. That was always the question mark coming into this season, was what was Clark Atlanta going to do on the offensive line? Now, the offensive line, in my humble opinion, was a bit undersized. They were a bit undersized last year, but I went out there for the second fall scrimmage, and those guys look huge, Coach. You had some big guys out there, Coach.
I mean, there's some big guys in that area, and a lot of times they got bigger, faster, and stronger. They made a commitment to themselves. We knew that was an area that we graded ourselves as coaches, that we didn't do a phenomenal job of running the football. And I understand in order to win championships, you got to be able to run the ball. In certain areas, you can throw yourself into games and you can throw yourself out of games as well. And sometimes when you don't complete passes and you might be up by 21 and they still slow grinding and they you look up and you're in a ball game and it's tighter than whatever because the offense don't always click like you want to do. But at any time you can hand the ball off and be able to, get a few yards on the ground. And I think that was a good job by the coaching staff. My hat goes off to Coach Frank Sutton Jr. and Coach Marvin Cunningham and their commitment to trying to get the ball better. We moved Arthur Williams over to coaching running backs, and he's done a tremendous job with his room. And I think that all the coaches have kind of bought in of trying to make that running game. And it was a focal point from this spring all the way up till we got the fall ball that we would be able to run the ball better. And it shows in the backs that we recruited and the ones that were already there that got better.
Now, you talk about running the ball. Who's going to tote the rock, Coach? Who's these guys running the ball?
Well, first of all, we got fifth-year senior Jeremiah Gibbs back. He's in there fighting right now with Alan Riggins, who's a fifth-year senior, who's doing a really good job. And then you got behind Riggins, you got a transfer that came from Erskine, Jalen Samuels. He's really done a really good job of adding another value to that room. And then you got the freshman, Elijah Miller from Grayson, and he's showed out and showed his skills and what he could do. So I think my running back room is pretty deep. I like the depth we have there. Each one of them have a different type of style of running, but one thing they have been doing is they've been running it hard.
Okay. Now, we talked about the offense. Now, let's go over there to Coach Cole's side, over there on the defense now, Coach. Who do you have kind of stepping up for? Now, you lost a lot in the secondary, Coach. Lost a lot in the secondary. Some all-conference performers over there on that side. So who's going to replace those guys in the secondary?
I mean, we went out and we got from Allen, we brought in Tyreek McPherson to play one corner. He's a redshirt junior, so he's going to play at one corner. Then it looks like the freshman is going to start at the other corner from Grayson. Von Mitchell, he's done a really, really good job this camp, this offseason. And then we go back and we get Artilius, who came for us from Shorter. Artilius is he's going to play one safety, and the other safety is going to be Marcus Anderson that came over with us last year from Allen, and he's doing a tremendous job too. And then we got some good backups and some other guys that's going to play in there. Jalen Newton from Westlake, he's a guy that's a freshman that's doing a trick. KJ Pope, he's doing a really good job. The guy from Hateville Charter. Then you got DJ Pope. He's over at one corner too as a backup. He came from down to the D3 school down LaGrange, and he's doing a really good job. I mean, we did a variety of trying to pick up some guys that added value to what we were doing, and then at the linebacker core, we went and got Boone, who played for us at Allen, and he transferred over to play one outside linebacker, and then we got the transfer from Western Carolina on the other side. He's going to play McDonald. He's going to play the other outside linebacker. And then the inside, we got Cersei And we got Jenkins, that's the transfer from Jackson State, that's in there, Cersei, and then we got Cameron Dorsey, the other transfer from Miami of Ohio, that's in that middle. So I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that making some plays, that's filling in some holes. Up front, I think that we've done a really good job. The newcomer, in my opinion, for the up front was Peyton Bell, a freshman from Ruston, Louisiana, out of Ruston High School. Does a tremendous job. Jaden Cleveland is still up there, the big nose. He's still anchoring it down. Cameron Williams is on the other side doing it. And Curtis Wade, my All-American, the only one that we got returning on defense. He's the other end, the boundary end, and he's done a really good job too. Backing those guys up. It's a couple guys that, they're still fighting to see what that's going to look like. We got Reese Sturgeons, who came over last year from Allen, and he's been his complete year there. And then on the other side is Pridgett, who came from Allen, who's been over there for a year. Those guys were sophomores last year. This their junior and senior year this year. So we'll see what it all turns out. And there's some freshman guys, Mamadou Saul, who's a transfer that came in. He's a guy that's still battling for a spot there. And I think that's about it. We have at least 8 D linemen that's really been battling out 3 or 4 noses that's done really good. Another guy that's came along really well was a freshman who transferred us from last year from the University of Indiana. He transferred, his name Braylon Morris. Braylon has came a long ways too, and Braylon's another one of those guys that's vowing at the number 2 spot for defensive tackle.
Okay. Now, one of the losses that I don't think anyone's talked about, anyone's mentioned, you lost your kicker, Leo. Mm-hmm. So you had to replace Leo with a kicker. Now, I know Teddy Keaton. When Teddy Keaton wants to get somebody, he says, I'm not going to get a regular person. I'm going to get me a state champion. I'm going to get someone that's pretty doggone good. So who did you bring in?
I can't think of his name. I call him by his number, but he's from Calhoun County. He's done really well. He can punt, kick. And he's had a tremendous camp. I'm very impressed with him. His hang time, his ability to kick it, his ability to do directional kicking, something I haven't had in a while. He's good for about, maybe 45 in. I like that, and he's got a strong leg, but he's just a freshman. And, he's done well for them as a high school kid, and I think he's going to do well for us here at the collegiate level.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. It seems like the team is ready to go. Seems like you got some players in there ready to go. Now, one thing you're going to do, we're playing that Week 0 Labor Day Classic, the Week 0 Labor Day Classic in Birmingham, Alabama, at historic Legion Field. Now, it's a classic, new classic. You're going on a road game, an away game for this classic. What's the mindset or the setup or the schedule when you have to take your team to one of these classic games? What happens? You're going to practice Monday through Thursday and leave out on Friday, or leave out on Thursday?
That's about right. We don't treat it no different than we treat a road game. Okay. The only thing that's different is we're playing at a 12 o'clock kickoff. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about that's going to throw a little something off. But most of the time we're going to stay with our schedule that we do on the road. We'll leave early Friday morning. I think we got a press conference at 11 in Birmingham. And then after that, we'll kind of structure our day to get our walkthroughs in and our meetings and our times and try to get them into bed early so they can, be well rested and get them up, go through pregame, try to have a few meetings to touch up. The hardest thing about it is the first game of the season. As I said, as you get to that 4th and 5th year, and I think there's going to be a new way every year now because your team is never going to look the same every year because of roster management. Yeah. So now every year you're going to have to figure out after that first game, you may come out of camp thinking you're really good and then find out that there's some players that, they didn't transition from practice to the tape. The field. So
that's interesting when you talked about that. We didn't talk about this pre-show, but I want to ask you this question, put you on the spot a little bit, Coach. When you say that first game, because of roster management and team turning over and stuff like that, you jumped into the fire. You're playing the defending national runner-ups. You could have very well easily decided to play University of Virginia Lynchburg. You could have very well played those guys. But you played the defending runner-ups of the national championship, Coach. Now, what goes into that mindset?
I think that it's a stage. It's an opportunity I don't think Clark Atlanta, at least in the era that I know of and the times I've been in SIAC, this is the first time they're jumping out on a national stage to play a national ranked opponent, which I always say last year's team is not this year's team. They also lost a lot of players too, and they do that. They probably, as a coaching staff, used to losing a lot of players because they're a national powerhouse. Let's just call it for what it is. But at the end of the day, they got their evaluations. The good thing about this game is that we both playing each other at the first of the game of the year. They don't get a chance to work out their kinks. They're working out their kinks just like I'm working out my kinks. They got a new quarterback. They got new running backs. They got some people that retain, but most of their teams are the first time of them playing or getting there too, or transferring in there. So they got a lot of work. They got to get together, a lot of continuity. People don't realize in 4 or 5 weeks, it's hard to bring a team together in 4 or 5 weeks, especially when you're talking about bringing them from all different aspects and different walks and trying to plug and play them. They got to still learn the system. They still working out kinks. So I think it's a great opportunity for everybody. I think it's a great opportunity to measure where my team at. We talked about that. Forget about who they were last year. Let's worry about who they're trying to establish their identity for this year. And we never focus in on our opponent. We only focus on ourselves. How good do we want to be? Where are we going to execute? Because if we can do those things and execute at a high level, I feel like regardless of who you're playing against a selfless opponent. It's about how you execute, and we all know that Valdosta are going to execute at a high level. They always execute at a high level, and we're trying to establish that type of culture in our programs.
Okay, I get it, Coach. I get it. And, it's interesting you talked about the culture of the program and the culture of who you are kind of as a coach. One thing I did notice, when I went to that fall scrimmage you guys had, I noticed a familiar face calling plays on the sideline. And I said, hey, I know that coach over there, that young coach over there. That's David Wright, former quarterback. And it kind of hit me a little bit. It kind of like, here's a young man who's finished his eligibility, on the path to graduation. Something I notice about a lot of coaches. I've been in this game for a long time, Coach. Long as you, but I've been calling games, whereas you've been coaching. But sometimes when a player's eligibility is up with, that coach says, okay, nice, I appreciate you being here. See you at the reunion 20 years from now. But I noticed that you gave your quarterback, you said, hey, I got a spot for you on my coaching staff. Can you come and help out? Can you speak on that type of relationship that you have with your
I think
players?
David Wright's a generational talent. Mm-hmm. When you find a guy like that, I told him you may be a D2 All-American. That's what you are. You've done well in what you do. You're a good play caller. You've been calling plays because the way we teach our quarterback is we teach them. They become an extension of the play caller. So what better guy to bring him in and have him there with the quarterback that's coming up and teaching him and showing him the flow of the game, what D2 looks like. And I think David does a tremendous job at that. And giving him a chance to have a career in a profession that he's thrived in. I mean, he was such a talent for the Division II level. Why not give him an opportunity to be able to start out, just like somebody gave me one. I want to be able to create and open that pathway for him. A lot of players don't get that segue because they may not understand the game to the magnitude of what he understands the game at. And I think he's going to be a tremendous coach. I mean, he's showed nothing but a great degree of professionalism, coming out, working with the kids, being in the film room. It's impressive to watch him coach. And instead of us coaching him, it's been impressive to watch him coach and lead and guide and be a mentor, a peer mentor to his new fellow quarterback room.
Man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Anytime you can have a ex-player help out the program, and he not only help you, but you help him on this path to life. Because we got to all remember, these are just they're kids and young men at the end of the day. The kids and young men at the end of the day, and everybody needs that hand up or that hand to get them on the right path. And I think that's great that you would, kind of set that guy, hey, come on over here. I'm going to help you get you in a career that you might thrive in. And I think you would thrive in.
I think my goal was in life, I told him when I get to heaven, God, not going to ask me about how many games did I win. He's going to ask me how many people did I help along the way. When I sat in the couch to get his kid from his mama, I didn't tell her that he was going to go out here and score 100 touchdowns. I told her he was going to graduate. So I made David understand that we're going to finish the drill. He still got some time in the classroom, like a year. So I said, well, we're going to make this work and make it be productive for you. We're going to let you coach football, and we're going to let you finish school. So I think that's the point of every kid won't get that opportunity. Every kid, not a coach, but every kid that I've ever coached, that if they need me and they call me at any point in time, I'm going to pick the phone up and see what I can do to help them move along and matriculate through life. I think I live by a rule, each of us need all of us. At some point in time, they're going to need me. They gave me 4 years to help advance my career. Why can't I give them 30 minutes to write a resume letter for them, or something to make a phone call to someone to open a door for them to be able to do what they need to do? That's the commitment you make to an organization, to a kid, and the people that play for you.
Man, that is awesome, Coach. That is awesome. That is awesome. So now we're getting ready. We have this game coming up. Coach, the fashion people out there won't know what. It's going to be a 95-degree day out there in Alabama, 12 noon. What's the team going to be wearing out there? Coach, what the team going to look like?
We haven't even picked that yet. We haven't even gotten to that yet. Nobody's brought it up. Armand is usually the dress code of
He's the dress, okay.
Yeah, well, we got to establish a new one because he got but 1 year left, and he usually tell us what he feeling like. They come back. I let the team play. I do. I let them pick. I haven't even established who the captains are going to be right now. We've just been so tough and so at it, trying to make sure we put the best 22 in a uniform to make sure we can operate on all three phases of the game. And like I said, a lot of that won't be told until after you get on the field and you'll learn stuff about your team. I think there's a lot of growth between camp and the first game of the season. And that's why a lot of teams play warm-up team, but you notice the change in college football. We're jumping in straight out from the frying pan into the fryer. And it's happening at FBS and all those places as well. They're starting out where you got Alabama playing Florida State in the first game of the season, or you got the big boys playing against somebody. It's always this marquee matchup, which in a way is good because it helps them focus in camp. If they knew they were going to play, no disrespect to no other team, a smaller or less inferior opponent, sometimes it's hard to control their thought process because a lot of time people looks ahead and say, oh, I can beat them. I try to tell my kids every day has to count. Focus in on that day, win that day. Win is what's important now. All those things matter for their mindset, so when they get to that game, they know how to approach that game and understand that we have a huge task in front of us. We're fighting tradition. We're fighting history. We're fighting legacy. Our tradition ain't so great. We had one season. Anybody can, I tell them all the time, a garbage can can have a steak every now and then. So a broken clock is right at least two times a day. So we need to figure out, we got to be able to do something right twice. So now we're understanding that where we're trying to go, we laid the foundation for that program. Now we're trying to establish and build blocks so we can build walls that culture starts cementing in that Clark Atlanta is serious about football.
Oh, man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, Coach, 6 more days.
6 days.
6 more days. 6 more days till you guys touch down on that field, at Legion Field, and get ready to take on Valdosta State. Well, Coach, it's been a great coaches show. 6 more days. We'll be back in 7 more days to talk about the results of this game.
Yes, sir, we will.
He's Coach Teddy Keaton. I'm Sylvester Williams. They call me Slider Sports Guy. This is the Teddy Keaton Show here on HBCU Game Day. We'll see you next week.